of light to the rest of the world. Our founding heroes and heroines, Herbert Macaulay, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Margaret Ekpo, Anthony Enahoro, Ladoke Akintola, Michael Okpara, Aminu Kano, Funmilayo Ransom Kuti, and other nationalists believe it was Nigeria's manifest destiny to lead the entire black race as the largest black nation on earth. For decades, the promise of our independence has been tested by profound social, economic, and political challenges, and we have survived. While we may not have achieved all the lofty dreams of our forebearers, we have not strayed too far from them. In 65 years since our independence, we have made tremendous progress in economic growth, social cohesion, and physical development. Our economy has experienced significant growth since 1960. Although it is much easier for those whose vocation is to focus solely on what ought to be, we must recognize and celebrate our significant progress. Nigerians today have access to better education and healthcare than in 1960. At independence, Nigeria had 120 secondary schools with a student population of about 130,000. Available data indicate that as of year 2024, there were more than 23,000 secondary schools in our country. At independence, we had only the University of Ibadan and Yaba College of Technology as the two tertiary institutions in Nigeria. By the end of last year, there were 274 universities, 183 polytechnics, and 236 colleges of education in Nigeria, comprising federal, state, and private institutions. We have experienced a significant surge in growth across every sector of our national life since independence. In healthcare, infrastructure, financial services, manufacturing, telecommunications, information, technology, aviation and defense, among others. Our country has experienced both the good and the bad times in its 65 years of nationhood. As is normal for every nation and its people, we fought a bitter and unavoidable civil war, experienced military dictatorships, and lived through major political crises. In all this, we weathered every storm and overcame every challenge with courage, grit, and uncommon determination. While our system and ties that bind us are sometimes stretched by insidious forces opposed to our values and ways of life, we continue to strive to build a more perfect union where every Nigerian can find better accommodation and find purpose and fulfillment. Fellow compatriots, this is the third time I will address you on our independence anniversary since I assumed office as your president on May 29, 2023. In the last 28 months of my administration, like our founding fathers and leaders who came before me, I have committed myself irrevocably to the unfinished nation-building business. Upon assuming office, our administration inherited a near-collapse economy caused by decades of physical policy distortions and misalignment that had impaired real growth. As a new administration, we face a simple choice: continue business as usual and watch our nation drift, or embark on a courageous fundamental reform path.
Yeah.
We chose the path of reform. We chose the path of tomorrow over the comfort of today.
I agree.
Less than 3 years later, the seeds of those difficult but
What's happening?
necessary decisions are bearing fruits. In resetting our country for sustainable growth, we ended the corrupt fuel subsidy and multiple foreign exchange rates that created massive incentive for a rentier economy, benefiting only a tiny minority. At the same time, the masses received little or nothing from our commonwealth. Our administration has redirected the economy towards a more inclusive path, channeling money to fund education, healthcare, national security, agriculture, and political economic infrastructure, such as roads, power, broadband, and social investment programs. These initiatives will generally improve Nigerians' quality of life. As a result of the tough decisions we made, the federal and state government, including local government, now have more money to take care of the people at the lower level of the ladder to address our development challenges. Fellow Nigerians, we are racing against time. We must build the road we need, repair the ones that have become descriptive, and construct the schools our children will attend and the hospitals that will care for our people. We have to plan for the generations that will come after us. We do not have enough electricity to power our industries and homes today, or the resources to repair our deteriorating roads, building seaports, railroads, and international airports comparable to the best in the world, because we failed to make the necessary investment decades ago. Our administration is setting things right now. I'm pleased to report that we have finally turned the corner. The worst is over, I say. Yesterday's pains are giving way to relief. I salute your endurance, support, and understanding. I will continue to work for you and justify the confidence you repose in me to steer the ship of our nation to a safer harbor. Under our leadership, our economy is recovering fast, and the reforms we started over 2 years ago are delivering tangible results. The second quarter 2025 gross domestic product grew by 4.23%. That's Nigeria's fastest pace in 4 years, and outpaced the 3.4% projected by the International Monetary Fund. Inflation declined to 20.12% in August 2025, the lowest level in 3 years. The administration is working diligently to boost agricultural production and ensure food security to reducing food costs. In the last 2 years of our administration, we've achieved 12 remarkable economic milestones as a result of the implementation of our sound fiscal and monetary policies. We have attained a record-breaking increase in non-oil revenue, achieving 2025 target by August with over 20 trillion naira. In September 2025 alone, we raised 3.65 trillion. That is 411% higher than the amount raised in May year 2023. We have restored physical health. Our debt service to revenue ratio has been significantly reduced from 97% to below 50%. We have paid down the infamous ways and means advances that threaten our economic stability and triggered inflation. Following the removal of the corrupt petroleum subsidy, we have freed up trillions of naira for targeted investment in the real economy and social programs for the most vulnerable, as well as all tiers of government. We have a stronger foreign reserve position today than 3 years ago. Our external reserves increased to 42.03 billion this September, the highest since 2019. Our tax to GDP ratio has risen to 13.5% from less than 10%. The ratio is expected to increase further when new tax law takes effect in January. The tax law is not about increasing the burden on existing taxpayers, but about expanding the base to build the Nigeria we deserve and providing tax relief to low-income earners. We are now a net exporter. Nigeria has recorded a trade surplus for 5 consecutive quarters. We are now selling more to the world than we are buying, a fundamental shift that strengthens our currency and creates jobs at home. Nigeria's trade surplus increased by 44.3% in the second quarter of year 2025 to 7.46 trillion. That is $4.74 billion, the largest in about 3 years. Goods manufactured in Nigeria and exported jumped by 173%. Non-oil export as a component of our export trade now represents 48% compared to oil exports, which account for 52%. This signals that we are diversifying our economy and foreign exchange sources outside oil and gas. Our oil production rebounded to 1.68 million barrels per day from barely 1 million in May 2023. The increase occurred due to improved security, new investments, and better stakeholder management in Niger Delta. Furthermore, the country has made notable advances by refining PMS domestically For the first time in 4 decades, it has also established itself as the continent's leading exporter of aviation fuel. The Naira has stabilized from the turbulence and volatility witnessed in 2023 and 2024. The gap between the official rate and the unofficial market has reduced substantially following FX reforms and fresh capital and remittance inflows. The multiple exchange rates, which fostered corruption and arbitrage, are now part of history. Additionally, our currency rate against the dollar is no longer determined by the fluctuation in crude oil prices. Under the Social Investment Program, to support poor households and vulnerable Nigerians, 330 billion has been disbursed to 8 million households, many of whom have received either one or two out of 3 tranches of the 25,000 naira each. Coal mining recovered dramatically from a 22% decline in Q1 to 57.5% growth in second quarter of 2025, becoming one of the Nigeria's fastest growing sectors. The solid mineral sector is now pivotal in our economy, encouraging value-added production of minerals extracted from our soil. The administration is expanding transport infrastructure across the country, covering rail, road, airports, seaports. Rail and water transport grew by over 40% and 27% respectively. The 284-kilometer Kano-Katsina-Maradi standard gauge rail project and the Kaduna-Kano rail line are nearing completion. Work is progressing well on legacy Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and Sokoto-Badagry Highway. The Federal Executive Council recently approved $3 billion to complete the Eastern Railway project. The world is taking notice of our efforts. Sovereign credit rating agencies have upgraded our outlook for Nigeria, recognizing our improved economic fundamentals. Our stock market is experiencing an unprecedented boom, rising from all-share index of 55,000 points in May 2003 to 142,000 points as of September 26, 2025. At its last MPC meeting, the central bank slashed interest rate for the first time in 5 years, expressing confidence in our country's macroeconomic stability. On security, we are working diligently to enhance national security, ensuring our economic experiences improved growth and performance. The officers and men of our armed forces and other security agencies are working tirelessly and making significant sacrifices to keep us safe. They are winning the war against terrorism, banditry, and other violent crimes. We see their victories in their blood and sweat to stamp out Boko Haram terror in the Northeast, IPOB ESN terror in Southeast, and banditry and kidnapping. We must continue to celebrate their gallantry and salute their courage on behalf of a grateful nation. Peace has returned to 100 of our liberated communities in the Northwest and Northeast, and thousands of our people have returned safely to their homes. I have a message for you, you young people. You are the future and the greatest asset of this blessed country. You must continue to dream big, innovate, and conquer more territories in your various fields of science, technology, sport, and art and creative sector. Our administration, through policies and funding, will continue to give you wings to fly sky high. We created NEL Fund to support students with loans for their educational pursuits. Approximately 510,000 students across 32 states of the Federation, including FCT, have benefited from this initiative, covering 228 higher institutions. As of September 10, the total loan disbursed was 99.5 billion, while the upkeep allowance stood as 44.7 billion. Credit Corp, another initiative of our administration, has granted over 153,000 Nigerians 30 billion affordable loans for vehicles, solar energy, home upgrades, digital devices, and more.
Okay.
Youth credit, which I promised last June, is a reality, with tens of thousands of NYSC members now active beneficiaries of consumer credit for resettlement. Under our Renew Hope agenda, we promise to build a Nigeria where every young person, regardless of background, has an equitable opportunity to access a better future. Thus, the investment in digital and creative enterprise, IDICE program, the Bank of Industry, is driving the program in collaboration with the African Development Bank, the French Development Agency, and the Islamic Development Bank. This initiative is at the cusp of implementation. Our last 2 years, we have collaborated with our partners to launch the program, supporting our young builders and dreamers in the technology and creative sector. This is a message of hope, fellow Nigerians. I've always candidly acknowledged that this reform have come with some temporary pains. The biting effects of inflation and the rising cost of living remains a significant concern to our government. However, the alternative of allowing our country to descend into economic chaos or bankruptcy was not an option. Our macroeconomic progress has proven that our sacrifices have not been in vain.
Okay.
Together, we are laying a new foundation cast in concrete, not on quicksand. The accurate measure of our success will not be limited to economic statistics alone, but rather in the food on our family tables, the quality of education our children receive,
Right.
the electricity in our homes, and the security in our communities. Let me assure you of administration's determination to ensure that the resources we have saved and the stability we have built are channeled into these critical areas. Today, the governors at the state level and the local government's autonomy are yielding more development right in our face. Therefore, on this 65th anniversary of our independence, my message is hope and a call to action. The federal government will continue to do its part to fix the plumbing in our economy. Now, we must all turn on the taps of productivity, innovation, and enterprise, just like the Ministry of Interior has done with our travel passports, by quickening the processing. In this regard, I urge the subnational entities to join us in nation building. Let us be a nation of producers, not just consumers. Let us farm our land and build factories to process our produce. Let us patronize made in Nigeria. I say Nigeria first. All the goods, let us pay our taxes as well.
Bring your money.
Finally,
Okay.
let all hands be on deck.
Right.
Let us believe once more in the boundless potential of our great nation. With Almighty God on our side, I can assure you that the dawn of a new, prosperous, self-reliant is here in Nigeria. Happy 65th Independence Anniversary. And may God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Amen.
Okay. So a lot was said there, and I agree with almost everything. Almost everything. Okay, almost everything on except the security aspect. And I kind of get it because, like, look at it now. I've not even started talking. You see what is trending? Insecurity. That's what is trending right now in Nigeria. So I kind of agree. I mean, I would, to be sincere with you, I would say, in terms of the economic reforms, even though it was brutal, even though that bit so hard, I think the president was left with no option, than to take on those reforms. We can always, have different opinion as to how it went and how the president did his reforms, but I would say that there was no easier way. Okay, it's just like someone going to the hospital and they're saying that, you know what, you're gonna cut off the legs, no matter what. Because if you don't, it's gonna affect other things, then it's gonna affect your whole life. So that's just one other thing I just want to point out. Okay. No, with respect to the reforms and all that, a lot was mentioned, and I was taking note. A lot. See, 1, 2, 3, 3 pages rather, about what happened. So he first made mention of decades of abandonment. Decades of abandonment means that we were screwed. Not just 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. We're screwed for almost the 65 years in our nation history. If it wasn't military men committing coups, changing, government successively within months, okay, it was, tribal issues, civil war, and all that. And he did mention that, there was a bitter past in Nigerian's history, and that was crazy. Various pains, and then again, he talked about continued work, recovery, and reforms now, getting the results that was expected, even though it wasn't easy. Again, I just want to talk about the decades of abandonment, because if you don't understand that Nigeria went through those periods where it was reckless, and we had people that ruled over this country that hated the nation Nigeria, you would not understand what all those reforms are. We've never had a free market when it comes to forex. We've never had a free market when it comes to petrol. Even though diesel was deregulated, the fraud that was happening in the diesel side just moved over to the PMS side. And that's why till tomorrow, Alison Madrike can't even easily come into the country because a lot of atrocity was done. The reserve that was granted to Jonathan was at the highs of $63 billion. That was the reserve that was given over to Yaradua/Jonathan. By the time Buhari was leaving, it was just around 4 billion. So there was no way we could have met our obligations as a nation, especially as a nation that depended on foreign goods. So we were actually nosediving when TINUBU took over. And because they knew that the change that they had promised in 2015 didn't yield any results, then they coined another phrase, which politicians do, and then they called it renewed hope. That is the hope that we promised you, it didn't work. It was all a fraud. Okay, right now we're going to promise you another one, which is renewed hope. So that was that. But he did make mention of the economy, and it was smart of him not to have started with security, because security is a zero for me. So he started with economy, and again, if you're being sincere with yourself and if you understand numbers, because you might say, oh, there's still hunger in the land, there's still suffering in the land, you could say that. But if you understand numbers, you would know that we're actually turning the corner. We're moving around. Things are beginning to take shape. And it's only a matter of time before it then, gets to the final masses. Now, you may disagree with me. That's my own thought. And again, I could say that because I've been involved in the capital market. I've been involved in various forms of finances, and I know it's not when the house comes down that is actually the end. The house comes down, at a point when you notice that the normal obligations that should be serviced are not being serviced. And that was what gave rise to the differences in the black market rates and the bank rates and the CBN rates. Then you had the other windows for those who want to trade. You call it the IFX window. So these are for the traders. Then we also had a Dangote FX rates, because it was building the so-called refinery that will benefit the whole nation. So Dangote, being the owner, must be treated specially. And in the middle of all of that, then you had a CBN governor, Emefiele, that had almost 750-something buildings. Where did he get all those monies from? And the buildings were not in his village, it was in Abuja. So there's been decades of reckless spending, decades of abandonment, and also successive leaders that had no clue what they were doing. From Jonathan to Yaradua to Goodluck Jonathan to Yaradua to Buhari rather. Yeah. So that all happened. Now, the international community is actually taking notes. For the first time, they started reviewing Nigerians' number, and there were improvements. Okay, there were improvements. Now, our second quarter, when you talk about second quarter, that is April, May, June. GDP, now you might say, oh, you don't need all these numbers, bro. Okay, GDP increased by 4.32%. That's massive, because you don't even have that in the developed countries. And IMF has estimated something around 3%. So we beat IMF estimates. That's been the fastest in 4 years. Inflation is trickling down, which is expected. When all those reforms kicked in, you expected that inflation will go as high as it went. If you don't, then maybe you don't know what you're talking about. You talk about non-oil revenue. Okay, TINUBU is a tax person, doesn't really care if people are beating or not. He always wants to collect more money. So I'll give that to him. But one important point that he made mention of was September revenue having a 411% increase compared to the same time in May of last year. I'm sorry, May of 2023. Do you know what that means? Like, say you're collecting a million, now you're collecting 4 million. Now people will be like, oh, where has all this money gone to? And that takes me to a very, very important point. That 411% increase has increased the allocation at the federal government level, at the state level, and at the local government level. So you're gonna ask your governor, what are they doing? Because most of our governors, in fact, I'm saying the worst group of politicians that you could ever have in Nigeria, number one is the National Assembly, followed by the governors. And again, the governors, when they destroy their state, they actually find themselves at the National Assembly. So they just continue those destructions and they fight on stuff that doesn't really matter, that doesn't even help the populace. So you have that. You talked about debt service ratio, which was really, really interesting because he said the debt service ratio was at a high of 97%. And now that has reduced to 52%. That is, before we needed more of our revenue to service our debt. But now we're using less of our revenue to service our debt. And that makes sense because if your revenue has grown by 411% just in September alone, and annual average has also increased, then you're gonna have use lower amount from that total, not lower amount in terms of absolute value, but in terms of percentages. Okay. Subsidy removal. Yeah, I talked about that one. We know that one. Everybody knows about subsidies, so I'm not going to say anything about that. Okay, now it's going to come for your taxes. For those that don't pay taxes, it's going to come for it. We talked about foreign exchange, which was crazy. The fraud. I used to say that the fraud at the foreign exchange level was even greater than the one at the subsidy level, because the subsidy you're going to have to bring in fuel, and maybe not even bring in fuel, but at least you're going to be in that business. For the forex, it was almost everybody that was in charge of foreign exchange that was doing that scam. So you had people at the bank level, they were involved in foreign exchange scam. I'm telling you, at the CBN level, they have the politicians also. So before you could get dollar, you have to know somebody that can help you access dollar at the official rate. That has been eradicated. So that's a level playing field for anyone. So I can bring in dollars to Nigeria today, and when I want to take it out tomorrow, I don't need to be scared or need to think about how do I have to talk to this malam, or is my bank going to get my money? It was so bad at that time that at some point they were telling you that whatever dollars you have in your account, you may actually lose the right to that dollar, that if they're going to collect that money, they're going to pay you the naira equivalent. And the naira equivalent at the official rate was ridiculous, because you're going to be losing anyways. So that has gone off. You talked about the project, Lagos, Calabar, Sokoto, Badagry, Eastern Railway project. I mean, all of those, the Lagos, Calabar, people think it's just road. And that's where a lot of people are, the stuff I hear is always, why is it building new roads when there are old roads that needs to be repaired? I think old roads, legacy projects should be completed and repaired. But you have to think about, how do we get more economic activity? How do we turbocharge the whole economy as a whole? So that's why, he's working on that Lagos Calabar, because the coastal highway, meaning there's going to be a lot of activities just around that. Okay? Yeah. Well, we talked about the rating agency, stock market boom. I mean, if you're not in the stock market making money, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm just saying the market has done really, really well. I mean, there's been new highs almost every day. After the let me talk about the global economic crisis in 2008. The Nigerian stock market didn't really recover. There were a little bit of retracement, a little bit of activity here and there, but the Nigerian stock market, and speaking about someone that really knows about the stock market, the Nigerian stock market didn't actually recover. In fact, I tried to trade in the Nigerian stock market shortly before COVID, thinking that the values of these stocks were really, really low, that this was a good opportunity. I'm telling you, during COVID, it went even further south. But now, for the first time in a long time, you've had sustained increase in the stock market, value appreciation in the stock market. Now, this is not an advice that you should invest in the stock market, Nigerian Stock Exchange. I'm just saying, if you're interested, then you have to talk to your financial advisor or talk to someone that really can advise you based on your peculiarity or based on your own financial circumstances. So I just want to put that out there. Okay, moving on. He talked about security, and that was where I disagreed with the president in a way. Because he said that Boko Haram has been subdued in the northern part of the country. And maybe there's been a little bit of a reduction to what the activity used to be before TINUBU. But let me tell you something. What happens with other places in the country? What's happening there? Just yesterday, in the news, we had the issue of Kwara State being destroyed and decimated. I did a segment where you had a whole town being deserted. Maybe not a town, let's say maybe it's like a village, but they had solid structures. The guy doing the documentary said there was like 1,000 people that attend the church service, and the whole church was locked down on a Sunday afternoon in Kwara State. For those of you who don't know, Kwara State is very close to the southwest. Okay? Like once you leave Kwara, you're in southwest, you're in Osun or your Lagos and all that. It's a matter of time. I don't see the holistic security framework that takes Nigeria out of the mess, just like we have with the economic reforms. And that I put that blame on the table of the president, 100%. I don't see it. I don't see the president saying, you know what, this is the old frame. Like, how do we ensure that every region is protected evenly? And that's the problem I have. I know he made mention of IPOB and ESN. They sit at home and all of that. And I feel, people say, oh, the Southeast needs to talk to themselves, and they need to get their acts together. They need to work on their security. We don't like ourselves. Okay, fine. You can say all that. But again, I put that at the table of Mr. President. Because if your territory is under my control or my leadership, and there are certain elements that are trying to usurp authority and power, I'm sorry, you're going to have a problem with me. I don't care. So again, I felt, and I said this back then, when there were all these little bit of crisis here and there, I'm like, it seems like the Southeast has been abandoned to fail. And you may not even like the politics of the Southeast, but they're part of the country. So how do you explain that? That you have a country and you have a region where someone outside the country is telling people don't go to work, and they're deploying weapons, and we're not even doing anything urgently to tackle the situation until when the thing has now gotten out of control or has gotten worse. So that's the problem that I have with the abandonment in the Southeast, because I know that when Rivers State was beginning to have those security failures, it wasn't even a security failure. It was just a little bit of a signal here and there where Sim Fubara was talking about, oh, do they think they have some level of thuggery? We have people in the creek that can blow a pipeline. President Tinubu the next day or the next few days declared an emergency in Rivers State. Why? Because money is involved, because oil money is involved. Why is it that we allow the Southeast to degenerate to this level of massive insecurity? There was this fish guy that was killed just few weeks ago, a few months ago, and nothing was done really to tame the Southeast. So security issue in the Southeast is still alarming. There's been a lot of people killed in the southeast. Now we see what happened in Kwara. Just a few days ago, you have armed robbery. And I saw publications, people saying, oh, it happens everywhere. Yeah, but what is being done to reduce it? Because it happens everywhere is not a strategy. Anyways, that's that about that. Well, we spoke about the monies that are given to youth, the NEL fund, 510 students. That's a lot. 510 students. That's a lot. Have benefited. And the reason they can actually do all this is because subsidy was removed. Before now, subsidy benefited the rich more than the poor. And when it was taken away, the poor felt the impact more. And that's a problem. But again, with all this, I believe that Mr. President is trying to help issues. Credit corporations has been accessible loans to 53,000 youths and all that. But he gave a shout out to one of the ministries, and I think everybody can borrow a lead from that. You can all complain that things are bad. The Ministry of Interior, the revolution, the innovation with passport and all that, I think is getting at par to whatever you're going to have anywhere in the world. And he's pleased to that. I mean, if the president is giving a shout out to you, as a minister, and is adding you to his speech on an independence broadcast, then I think you've done well. So is it BTO? That's the name, right? Yeah, I think kudos to him. And other ministries too that are trying their best. There's some ministers that, to be honest, we don't even know who they are. They're doing nothing, nada. So for that, I think that's good. Now, this ministry was headed by Aregbesola during the Buhari years. There were times that there was even no paper to print passports. This same Aregbesola is now the one coming out to say that we need to rescue the nation under the the auspices of ADC. I don't know. I mean, it's just crazy. Aregbesola, we didn't even know. Like, he was in charge of this ministry. And that's crazy. So again, just to summarize, that's that about that. Let's see what's happening. Independence. Okay. Well, this is on insecurity, but let me just talk about independence. Okay, good news. Dangote Group has agreed to immediately begin the process of redeploying the sacked Dangote refinery staff to other companies within the Dangote Group, but not the refineries, with no loss of pay. And Pengerson has agreed to start the process of calling off the strike. It's a win-win for both sides. Okay, that's an independence win. Yeah, I was at the outset, I was against sacking 800 workers because they decided to join Pengerson. And for now, I think Pengerson should just go its way. Let Dangote Refinery stabilize its operation. Maybe it's a fight for another day. But for now, I think Pengerson, just stay on your lane. Dangote stays on his lane. 800 workers, get them redeployed. More likely, the 800 workers, I said it here, I said, just start finding a new job. Just start finding a new job. Because I don't think that you'll be treated well, even if you are redeployed to other companies. And this is wisdom too. This is real wisdom, because it felt like, if this guy are back to the refinery, there's an high stake. And when they redeploy them to other Dangote groups, companies, I'm telling you, the battle is not over. They're going to be frustrated there. I mean, they're already tainted within the Dangote group. You may not like it, but that's the reality. So these guys, I think the best bet for them is for Dangote to pay them off. Just pay them off handsomely and let them begin their life. But it becomes very difficult right now. It becomes very difficult. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Let me just Nigeria 65. I just want to see if there's still any other thing with respect to that. Nigeria marked the 65th independence, which calls for unity amidst challenges. Yeah. Okay. Productivity and innovation was encouraged. Security improvement. I also want to also give a shout out to whoever is in the military doing their job. And I'm not talking about the military chiefs, because to be honest with you, I'm disappointed with the level of work that they've done. Okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to note that. Okay, we listened to the broadcast. My birthplace, my home. Today, Nigeria turns 65. Through it all, our people persevering and finding joy even in toughest time. God didn't rush when He made us. He gave us resilience and spirit. In my next life, we'll still choose Nigeria. Of course, copy will choose Nigeria. I mean, if your dad has the license to import 65% of all crude oil of diesel used by a nation, I mean, why won't you choose Nigeria in your next life? I don't want to read the comments, bro. If I read the comments, you will be surprised. But let's see. Let's go there. Let's go there. I'm ready to go. I never stop testing happy. Not the system's failure. May the future finally match the potentials we've been shouting. Yeah, that's true. The funny part is average Nigeria does not see the need for Independence Day. Like I forgot today is Independence Day. In my next life, I wouldn't wish to be a Nigerian. I've had more than enough suffering already. In my next life, we'll still choose Nigeria. You can just open your mouth. Wow, they talk rubbish. You, because you know poor Abi. Why you know they stay here if you love them so much? Ah, this guy says Nigeria is like a 65-year-old man who doesn't have a wife, children, or even a roof over his head, and knows clearly and no clear strategy of getting above. Yeah, getting the above. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, that's okay. So let me see more things. Peace has returned to hundreds of our liberated northwest and northeast community, but now north central communities are now facing similar fates. So the question is, what happens? One Nigeria, happy independence. Okay. Nigeria 65, the hospital has 7 culture, resilience, food, and vibes. Okay, what's this? Happy independence in Nigeria. Nigeria is not hopeless. Yeah, Nigeria is not hopeless. I agree with that. Nigeria will not disintegrate. Okay. Nigeria will be peaceful. Nigeria will flourish. Nigeria will prosper. Let's get on the tax of nation building and contributing our quotas to Nigerian development. Happy Independence Day. Happy Independence Day. Okay. Maurice, way to get in. This guy is Peter Obi's number one. Way to get in Nigeria angry this morning. Wish them happy independence. Okay. I don't know. No response. Some of you are intentionally annoying. Happy, but she is celebrating her own celebration now. What's the problem? See, the problem is this, okay? Anyways, let me move on. Okay. Sanwo-Olu, I'm grateful of how far we've come as a people. Our journey has not been without challenges, yet it remains a story of resilience, hope, and belief in a better tomorrow. Okay, that's cool. Who is this one? Happy 65, my beloved Nigeria. 2027 presents another opportunity to rescue Nigeria and reach my wisdom and courage. What's this?
His name is Nigeria. Niger for short.
Hey, madam, I beg no vessel. How old is this old man when you carry for back so?
Well, my baby is approximately 64 years.
64 years?
Yes, in fact, today being 64 years birthday.
Oh.
You know if it waka, you know if it talk. If you waka small, it go collapse. Since when they born and now so with the manager.
Hey, madam, be your own name. So you go we carry this speaking. What's be your own name?
My name is I am Madam Tumbulum and Mrs. Tumbulum.
Tumbulum?
Yeah, yes now.
So, madam,
Yes.
so true, now you born this speaking.
Well, see. This pikin, he no get one mama. Now every 4 years, now it's Heineck go talk who go be papa and mama. So now last year, Professor Heineck say na me go be the mama of this pikin. In fact, when I supposed to they thank me because the other people will be papa before me. Now
Okay, so two things there. Number one, I think right now, if you don't dress, this way, and you have most comedians dress in all this funny way, I'll call it the humiliation rituals, where you can't act until you wear something, dress like a woman. You put on a dress. I think it's becoming so much common and humiliating in a way. I call it the humiliation rituals. But I kind of get where it's going with all of these. Okay, Nigeria is giving back to someone that is lame, that cannot walk for the past 65 years. Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Possibly, maybe. Again, it is what it is. Let's look at this. Marks another significant milestone in its journey to nationhood. As we celebrate 65 years of independence from the colonial rule, this moment offers us an opportunity to reflect on our collective journey of nation building, on the challenges we have faced, and on the vast possibilities that still lies ahead. It is true that we face challenges that could test our sense of hope, insecurity, economic disparity, and institution that often struggles to deliver on the promise of improved well-being, peace, and security. Yet, as citizens, we must not lose faith. We must continue to nurture hope and sustain belief in the nation's enormous potential and the resilience of the people. The resilience of the people, like Nigerians are tough though. Nigeria is a blessed nation endowed with vast land and abundant national resources, and above all, the ingenuity and creativity of the people. Our cultural richness, our knowledge, and our wisdom have continued to distinguish Nigeria across every sphere of human endeavor, both at home and abroad. As we look to the future, let patriotism guide our action. Let us hold family to optimism and faith, knowing that the greatness of our country is within reach if we remain united and steadfast. May our nation continue to rise in strength and purpose. GEJ. Okay. I mean, you had the opportunity to put us in a path of greatness, but unfortunately you didn't. But thank you for that message. That's good. That's good. Now they're talking about bringing him back for 2027. I don't think that would work. His time is gone. I listened to this lady yesterday, and yeah, that's it. But I think that was a good message for Nigeria. Happy independence. Yeah. Don't def now. What? What? We don't have a real name. Yeah, they don't. Can't be bothered. Web developer, content writer. Yeah, they don't have a real name. Yeah. Even funding peeps. Funding peeps is wishing Nigeria independence. Happy independence, the giant of Africa, my fatherland. Okay. 65 years ago, Nigeria gained independence from the British colonial rules. Happy independence to Nigeria. One of the questions I asked myself was that even the right time for us to have gained independence? It wasn't as if they were, slavery was still going on at the time. It was just that we're under the British rule. I don't know. I'm just asking. Were we matured enough as a country? Because what came after that was utter chaos. People will say, "Oh, it was the British. A fool at 65 is a fool forever." Happy birthday, Nigeria. Okay. Happy independence, Nigeria. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna move on. This is a country you go to bed thinking it will end because of its challenges. Then you wake up and find it resiliently emerging out of its storms and turbulence. Happy Independence Day, Nigeria. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Nigeria to the world. And I think wherever Nigerians have found themselves, they've been always, 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 always doing great. Or the U.S. mission of Nigeria, these guys that are fighting us every time with Donald Trump in charge. On behalf of the United States of America, I extend my warmest congratulations to the people of Nigeria on the 65th anniversary of Nigerian independence. For over 6 decades, Nigeria stood as a beacon of resilience and leadership. The United States value our enduring partnership rooted in shared democratic principles, a growing commercial relationship, and a commitment to fostering peace and security. On this special occasion, we celebrate the rich cultural heritage and entrepreneurial spirit and unwavering determination of the Nigerian people. We look forward to continuing to deepen our collaboration in the years ahead as we work together to achieve our shared goals. Congratulations once again on this milestone anniversary. May the year ahead bring continuous progress and prosperity to Nigerians people. Senator Marco Rubio, that's the current Secretary of State. He's my homeboy, actually. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for your partnership. But you guys should reduce all those visa fees. Right? You guys are putting 100K on H1B. You guys are. You see, this is the problem that I have. Nothing to congratulate. Okay, fine. Pigs are living in luxury skyscraper, but Nigeria celebrated 65 years post-independent dripped with deterioration. My mind cannot comprehend it. In 234, there's a species of pigs that have been shouting Awalokan. In 234, that's Nigerian postal code. There's a species of pigs that have been shouting Awalokan. I guess they need to see the actual pigs are living in more favorable condition than they are. When leaders decide to make their country work, they will actually do so. What we have in Nigeria, people who go into power with no intention of doing anything for people apart from their intention to ruin and plunder the wealth meant for the people. And 65 years of reverse progress. A new Nigeria. But your guy, P.O. Sibu, P.O. Peter Obi, is also part of that 65 years. He's played prominent role in Anambra. He's played prominent role in Jonathan's administration. So when you say all of this about Nigeria and then you come back to say Nigeria is PO and it's possible, then what the hell are you talking about? I mean, let's not deceive ourselves. But it's okay. And then it has this video as a reference to the pig condo. This is where they rear pigs in China, which I was saying that why are we disturbing ourselves with this so-called grazing or free grazing and stuff, the Ruga and all of those? Why can't they find a way to cater for their cattle? But again, it is what it is. Okay, I'm gonna move on. I think today I've got a lot